Well, one of the charming things about a railroad garden are all of the miniature plants that you see around. And these are actually, many of them, dwarf varieties, so that they will stay small and be in scale with both the railroad and the buildings. And you can notice back here we've got a small boxwood that's been trimmed to look like a tree. Well, you can actually do this very easily at home, and boxwoods lend themselves to trimming up very nicely. Now, you wouldn't even have to have a railroad garden to do this. If you wanted to make a miniature village for your kids or something like that, you could trim them up. And kids really enjoy miniature things because they actually enjoy the gardens out here very much. Now, all you need is basically a boxwood, and if you're going to trim it up, take a look inside and see what the structure looks. If we look in here, you'll notice that the stems have some interest, and they actually divide here. And this is a good thing to look for if you're going to trim it up to look like a tree. Make sure that the base looks somewhat like a tree. Then all we need to do is take our clippers or small scissors and start to trim the base up. Now we're going to remove a lot of this lower foliage here so that we have the base of our tree. And we just start clipping, and this can actually go fairly fast. And get the bottom part removed first. And again, clipping them off as you would prune a tree, with a little bit of a collar. Okay, now we've got our base off, and some of these sprouts will just kind of rub off with our thumb like that, the smaller ones. And then you can kind of step back and look at it, and you notice we have the beginning of a tree. Now we need to come and look at the top. And up here we've got quite a bit of extra boxwood growing out here, and it doesn't quite look like a tree yet. So what you want to go in and do is selectively cut out some of these. Now don't just shear this because you'll be clipping off halves of leaves, but come in and just clip them out selectively like this until you get the shape that you want. Now once you've done this, it'll just take a little bit of maintenance pruning, usually in the spring and maybe again a little bit in the fall, and you'll keep your shape very well on your tree. And you can notice the more I clip here, the more we start to get something that looks very much like a miniature tree. And we'll just clip a few more spots here. And we could go ahead and plant this in and start our miniature garden. Well, now that we're finished with our tree, let's move on inside and do some web surfing for some great sites for garden planting next year.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.